You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hey, it's Michelle. Before we get started, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of the healthcare providers that are working their tushies off and putting themselves in a really vulnerable position by caring for the needy during this time with the virus. You guys know we are a very loving, unique community of people from all over the world, and a lot of us, because we have codependency behaviors and traits, are actually drawn to careers that help and heal others. So we have a ton of nurses in our community. We have doctors, we have psychologists, we have teachers, and women and men who really take deep enjoyment and gratification from helping others. So we just want to recognize you because we know you are out there, and we are so incredibly grateful for all of your hard work and your courage and your fortitude to get us through this time. So just wanted to say thank you, really and truly. And today we are going to talk about two different tools. And here's the deal. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to dress it up. What I'm about to tell you on today's podcast, you've probably heard before. It's nothing new. In fact, anyone that's kind of in the self-help industry has probably spoken about the tools I'm about to speak about. Sorry, guys. It's a very loud truck that just went by. I have to record outside my home because of the virus. The kids are still home, so we're doing what we can here. But the first tool is really 3 simple steps. And I was reminded of these steps recently because I'm attending therapy, because I think therapy is amazing with the right therapist, mind you. There's lots of poor therapists out there. So if you're not in therapy right now, I would highly consider it. I know a lot of therapists are actually doing their meetings through Zoom. But my therapist the other week said, Michelle, she has a whiteboard, which I love because I'm action-oriented. And actually, I know you are too, which is why you've been drawn to this community, because we not only talk about our feelings, but we actually believe that we need to do something about them. Practical, tangible tools, right, to get us through this. And so she has a whiteboard. And as soon as she brought out her whiteboard and her marker, I was like, I love this woman. I'm here to stay. And she started whiteboarding out something for me that I wanted to share with you. Again, nothing new, but really hit home for me. This is what she wrote on the board. She said, think, believe, act. So those 3 words. And she said, what you think dictates what you believe. So in other words, the stories that you're telling yourself are actually reinforcing your beliefs about your life, and that those beliefs are causing you to act in a certain way. So let's break this down into something that pertains to you and your life right now. You're in love with someone struggling with addiction. And you might think that you are not worth getting sober for. So the story you're telling yourself is that if you just behaved better, if you just did something better, if you were good enough, they would get sober. You think that. And so that's the story you're telling yourself. And so what you believe and what you do, how you act, is you go around spending your days, hours, months, weeks trying to behave better, trying to be worthy of their attention, trying to make them see you and just how special you are, just how perfect and wonderful of a relationship you would have with them if they just got sober. That's the origin of the dysfunction, is that it goes all the way back to your thinking. Your story that you are telling yourself is wrong. And then, therefore, your beliefs are incorrect and your behavior is detrimental and harmful to you. So we have to take it all the way back to what we allow ourselves to think. We have to capture every thought that comes into our mind and take self-inventory and ask ourselves, is that the truth? Is that really, really what we should be thinking? Because it's not complicated, right? To change your thoughts, to change your beliefs, it's not hard. For example, let's say I believed that I'm trying to think of something that pertains to addiction. I believed, and this is true, I did once believe this, that if I picked up the house more, that he would come home and want to spend more time with us. He would come home on time and he would stay home instead of going out to the bars and being with his friends, because he was constantly complaining to me about how the house was messy. Never mind the fact that I had 3 young kids. So I would spend hours before he got home from work picking up and cleaning up. I would stack the books on the table, on the coffee table perfectly. I would align the fireplace, that screen. If it was out of whack just an inch, I would correct it an inch and line it up right in front of the fireplace even better. I would shove things in drawers. I would, make sure the laundry was folded. I would go around wasting all of this ridiculous energy and time thinking that if I made the house more perfect, he would enjoy spending more time in the house because he criticized me so much about it. My thoughts were wrong from the very beginning. Of course, his alcoholic and addicted behavior had nothing to do with a clean house or not. The house could be perfect or a disaster. That doesn't indicate if he's going to get sober or not. So do you see how we need to take inventory of all of those crazy, ridiculous thoughts that we have about specifically our relationships with loved ones and drinking and drugs, thinking that somehow, some way we can control this, or that we have any power over this, or we are responsible at all for their sobriety or their addiction? We have to capture every thought, because if we replace those thoughts with something positive, that's when our self-esteem grows. That's when our healing begins. That's when we become the people we were meant to be. That's when we start making healthier choices and attracting healthier people into our lives. Okay? So just for today, even if it's just a couple more hours before you fall asleep, I want you to start to think. Just notice the thoughts that come into your mind. Notice them. You don't even have to start to replace them if you feel overwhelmed. Just notice what you are thinking about your beliefs and begin to question them. Okay? And the second tool that we're going to talk about, that I want to teach you, that I found particularly helpful, that my therapist said to me is, Michelle, therapy is good. Coming in here and talking to me is wonderful. I go once a week. But you need to take accountability outside of my office for your happiness. So as soon as she said that to me, I was like, yes, right on. You're speaking my language. What do I need to do specifically to own my own happiness outside of this office? And she said, your senses. You need to use all of your senses in your life. Meaning, when you're in here, you're doing a great job talking. But you need to, outside of my office, use your hearing. So your hearing is a sense. So play music, listen to uplifting podcasts, listen to self-help books, smell. She said your sense of smell is really important. So put lavender essential oil on, which I don't do the essential oil situation. I know a lot of people do, but I was thinking I could light a candle, or I could get one of those diffusers. I was thinking of like touch as a sense. I love baking, and I know everyone's into baking bread on Instagram during this virus. So I'm like, maybe I should get into baking bread or baking cookies. That also uses your sense of smell. But and maybe it's taking long baths. And then what are you looking at? You know, are you fixing your eyes on something beautiful? Like I can look at my backyard with my trees or go for a hike. I live in Florida, so I can go for a walk on the beach, which is what I'm planning on doing this evening. Where am I choosing to fix my gaze? Am I choosing to look at the beauty around me, or am I choosing to look at the limitations? So all of the senses need to be engaged all the time in order for us to claim our own happiness. And a lot of what I just mentioned isn't expensive. It doesn't require tons of time, and it can be thoroughly enjoyable. So I'm going to try it out, and I hope that you do too. Maybe even make a playlist of your favorite songs. I have playlists for different moods. So I have one for like reflection. I have multiple playlists for writing when I sit down and write. I have playlists for fun, like when I just need to feel happy and joyful or mellow and chill. I even have one that's called Chill Out Michelle, which is when I'm kind of losing it with all my kids around the house and I need to just sit in a quiet room and chill out. Music can be so powerful. You guys know my brother is a musician, and he scored the Love Over Addiction program for you. And he talks a lot about music therapy and how certain music can really create certain emotions. So I remember when I was getting divorced, my favorite song that I played often was by Michael Bublé, who's also Canadian, as I am. And it was the song Feeling Good. And I would put my kids in the car seat. I would drive around town, roll down the windows, turn that up as loud as I could without hurting their little ears, and sing that song till my heart's content. It was on repeat. And no matter how scared or insecure or even terrified of my future I would be, that song and getting in my car, something about it just was magical. So I ask you, what are you going to do? What senses are you going to use in the next couple days? What things around your house can you use to help you feel better? Because you guys know it is ultimately up to us to feel better, whether they get sober or not. We are not going to give them power over our feelings and our life any longer. We are not going to allow addiction to ruin our lives and take us down too. We are going to stand up to addiction. We are going to take back our autonomy and our control and our power over this disease, because we are not powerless. That whole step in AA that says we are powerless over this, BS. We are not powerless over this disease. We absolutely have control over our feelings, over our choices, over our future. So if you came into this podcast listening today feeling helpless, I hope that you are leaving feeling better and knowing you have plenty of choices ahead of you. You have lots of options to feel better. So I hope you don't feel stuck anymore. I hope you feel empowered. I love you, and I will talk to you next week.
This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with Michelle's personal thoughts and beliefs. From one woman to another, bonded together by the fact we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.